Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Today we're talking about college, specifically American college, and whether it's even worth it anymore considering the increasingly sky-high price of tuition. As I'm sure far too many of us are personally aware of, college in the US is expensive, to say the least. In fact, depending on how you look at it, the US is one of, if not the most expensive places to go to university. According to one 2018 report, the US had the second highest annual tuition fees for public colleges, costing an average of $8,200 per year. American public colleges were some of the most expensive in the world, second only to those in the United Kingdom, which had an average annual tuition fee of around $12,400. But when it came to the cost of private colleges, no other country even came close to the average annual tuition fee of over $21,000 that you find in the US. That's a lot of money. In fact, you'd have to pretty much be a Rockefeller or Vanderbilt to think that that's not a lot of money. And since most people, especially most 19 and 20-year-olds, don't just have $20,000 extra dollars sitting around in the bank per year waiting to be spent on just whatever, a lot of people have been borrowing money to pay for their education. And this, of course, has led to an increasingly and shockingly large amount of student loan debt. According to Forbes, outstanding student loans in the US went from just under $500 billion in 2006 to over $1.5 trillion in 2018. And among students who graduated from college in 2018, 69% of them had taken out student loans, and they graduated with an average debt of $29,800. And broken down even further, among people who graduated from public colleges, 66% of them had loans with an average debt of $25,500. For graduates from private nonprofit colleges, 75% of them had loans with an average debt of $32,300. And among people who went to for-profit colleges, 88% of graduates had loans with an average debt of $39,950. So there are definitely differences with the amount of debt that people are graduating with, but I think overall the shared theme would be that it's still a shocking amount of debt, especially for people who are so young and just starting out their careers. So with those large, scary numbers in mind, a lot of people are starting to question now whether college is even worth it. Because sure, as a culture, as a society, we prize education, and I think it's safe to say that in most instances, education does have inherent value. But there's a difference between saying, yes, a college degree is valuable, and saying that, yes, a college degree is worth the $150,000 that you might have to pay to get it, especially factoring the interest on that $150,000. I mean, it's possible to respect education and academia, but at the same time still be skeptical and worried about the number of baristas at your local Starbucks who seem to possess advanced degrees. The sad truth of the matter is that if you're the average student or the average parent of a student, right now college is an investment, one that is definitely going to cost you. But the question is that investment worth it? Will that huge amount of money that you fork over for your degree lead to greater gains in your career? Well, let's look at the numbers. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the unemployment rate for people who possess at least a bachelor's degree is in fact quite a bit lower than it is for people who only possess some college or an associate's degree, or for that matter, no college at all. As of 2018, for people who had a bachelor's degree or higher, the unemployment rate was 2.1%. 2.1% is an extremely low unemployment rate. It's essentially the lowest unemployment rate that is humanly possible. When unemployment gets between 2 and 2.5%, it's what economists like to call frictional unemployment. And according to Jeffrey Dorfman writing for Forbes, quote, "The frictional rate of unemployment is the part of unemployment due to people who are changing jobs. These people may have quit one job and are waiting to start another, or are just taking a few weeks to find a really good job. Frictional unemployment is considered normal, not a problem, since it is a natural part of allowing people to freely choose where and when they work. Because the unemployment rate for college graduates is essentially all frictional, that means it's essentially as low as it's possible to be. So the good news for people who have college degrees or who will soon have college degrees is that your unemployment rate is all but zero. But it is a different story for people without degrees. As of 2018, the unemployment rate for people with some college or an associate's degree was 3.5%. Still low, but not as low as it is for people with bachelor's degrees. For high school graduates with no college at all, the unemployment rate was even higher at 4.3%. And finally, people whose education level was less than a high school diploma had the highest unemployment rate of all, at 5.9%. If you're someone who's worried about finding a job, then getting a degree is a statistically significant way of improving your employment prospects. But at the same time, I think we can all agree that not all jobs are created equal. Even with the knowledge that having a college degree makes you eligible for a lot more jobs, some people will still say that it just isn't worth it with the high price of tuition unless college can get you not just a job, but a high-paying job. Because if a college degree doesn't significantly raise your earning potential, then I think a lot of people would agree that you'd be better off spending a little more time looking for a job instead of having to pay back tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of student loans. So do people who go to college make more money? Let's take a look. As you can see from this graph, we can see that not only do college degrees increase your likelihood of employment, but they also increase your average salary as well. The median wage in the United States in 2017 was $44,564, which I think a lot of us would agree is a pretty healthy number, but that average salary looks very different for people once we divide them by education level. For people who don't have a high school degree, the median wage was just $27,612, which is almost $20,000 per year less than the national median wage. For people with a high school degree, things were looking a bit better, with an average salary of $37,128, but we can see that people with bachelor's degrees brought in significantly more money, with a median salary of $66,456. And that isn't even as high as the median salary for people with an advanced degree, which came in at a whopping $77,324. So ultimately, is college worth it? Well, that kind of depends. Statistically speaking, people who have degrees have a lower unemployment rate and higher median salary than people who don't. However, whether going to college would be a worthwhile investment for an individual student depends on several factors. Although all college is expensive in the United States, some colleges are definitely more expensive than others, and tuition prices should absolutely factor into your decision making when you're deciding where to enroll. As someone who was in college not that long ago, I know it's really easy to get swept up into things like rankings and campus life when deciding where we want to go to school. But when students and parents are deciding on which college is right for them, then the price of tuition needs to be part of that conversation, and frankly, I think it needs to be a really big part of that conversation. Lately in the news, we've been hearing stories about people who say that they have over $100,000 or even $200,000 of student loan debt. And look, I'm not saying that high tuition prices aren't a problem that need to be addressed, because they absolutely do, but at the same time, you chose an exceptionally expensive school. Like, damn. Unless it was for a program that taught you how to be Beyonce and it was like a guaranteed thing, I cannot see how a college degree that left you $200,000 in debt would ever be worth it. Just under no circumstances. But if you find a program that would only leave you $20,000 in debt, what am I saying? Only $20,000. Like, in what other conversation aside from tuition prices would that phrase make sense? Then the salary gains you can expect from that degree might mean that college is in fact a worthwhile investment, which brings us to the second thing you need to consider when asking yourself, is college worth it? And that's your major. One of the harshest realities I had to learn when becoming an adult is that just because you may be passionate about something and heck, even really good at it, that doesn't mean necessarily that people are going to want to pay you to do that thing. As much as it may upset the artists and gender studies majors among us, the sad truth, according to the economy, the marketplace, is that not all college degrees are equally valuable. If you choose the right college degree, you could be making a bank, okay, at a pretty young age. According to Time magazine, some of the highest earning majors include things like naval architecture and marine engineering that had median yearly earnings of $82,000, aerospace engineering with median yearly earnings of $87,000, and petroleum engineering with median yearly earnings of $120,000. Whew, that's a lot of money. And if you're someone who's interested in one of those fields and you're looking at a reasonably priced school and you're wondering whether college is worth it or not, yeah, I'd say it's worth it. But let's compare those majors to some of the lowest earning majors. Again, according to Time magazine, if you're majoring in drama and theater arts, your median yearly earnings are going to be a somewhat more humble $40,000. And things are looking even more lean for your early childhood education majors, who have median yearly earnings of $36,000. And finally, topping off a countdown of lowest earning majors, we have counseling and psychology, with median yearly earnings of $29,000. $20,000. Of course, money isn't everything, and I don't mean to hate on any of those majors, except drama, probably, but let's take the example of psychology. Remember how the median yearly salary in the US for someone with no high school degree was over $27,000? Seeing as how a 4-year degree in counseling may only net you marginally more than that, $29,000 per year, you may want to reconsider things before committing to the major or to any specific school, especially expensive ones. And I want to be clear here, I'm not saying don't study counseling, especially if you're passionate about it, because money isn't everything when it comes to a career, and besides, we do need counselors. I'm just saying maybe don't go $150,000 in debt to study counseling. And that's actually another thing you're gonna want to think about when deciding whether college is worth it or not, and that's the unemployment rate in your field specifically. Because as it turns out, social psychology also happens to have one of the highest unemployment rates, and other fields with notoriously high unemployment rates include linguistics and comparative language and literature majors with 6.7%, and in a, I guess, winner-take-all situation, even petroleum engineering with 7.9%, and military technologies with 8.9%. And I know some of you may be thinking now, hang on a second, I thought you said unemployment rate for people with college degrees was practically non-existent. What's happening? Why are all those high numbers up there? Well, that brings us to the issue of underemployment. Because you see, even though almost all college graduates do have jobs, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to have jobs in their field or even jobs that require a college degree at all. As a Forbes article highlights, quote, though employers clearly see value in a college degree, the skills people learn in college are often not put to use on the job. Roughly 1 in 3 college graduates are underemployed, meaning they work in jobs that do not require a college degree. That many members of the college-educated workforce do not use their skills in the workplace has been the case for a long time. Among recent college graduates, the underemployment rate is even higher. Around 44% of college graduates ages 22 to 27 work in jobs that do not require a college degree. This figure appears to rise slightly post-recession and fall during economic booms, but over the long term, it generally stays between 40 and 50%. When those figures were released, they were circulated pretty heavily around social media, and I think they convinced a lot of people, or maybe for others, confirmed for them that no, college is not worth it. But before you start believing that 40% of recent graduates aren't even using their college degrees, there's something else you need to hear. Jeffrey Dorfman writes, quote, the New York Federal Reserve Bank in a recent report claims between 30 and 40% of college graduates are underemployed. That makes it sound like college is more of a gamble than an investment. However, the report's numbers are skewed by a faulty assumption that has the effect of vastly overestimating the underemployment rate of college graduates. The New York Fed's report defines college graduate underemployment to encompass all college graduates working in occupations deemed not to require a college degree. They further define occupations not requiring a college degree based on a survey of employers. If a majority of employers say a job does not need a college degree, all college graduates working in the occupation are counted as underemployed. Such an assumption is faulty because different employers may have different requirements for the same occupation. While one restaurant might say no college degree is required to be its manager, another says the opposite, and actually gives the manager enough responsibility and tasks to truly require and fully employ a college graduate. Yet under the author's approach, if 49% of restaurant managers use a college degree and 51% don't, all the ones with college degrees will be wrongly counted as underemployed. Further, just because a job does not require a college degree does not mean that those working in that occupation who have a college degree don't use it. And to add on to that, I think another thing that's not taken into account by the Fed report is the idea of competition among job applicants. Because sure, an employer might say that for a certain position, a college degree is not a requirement, but that doesn't mean that having a college degree wouldn't be seen as a desirable thing, or that a candidate with a college degree wouldn't have a leg up over his competitors. Long story short, is college worth it? Maybe, maybe not. My advice for any prospective students would be to choose your school wisely and choose your major wisely. And just as importantly, please do not believe the lie that a 4-year college is the only type of education you can get that will improve your career prospects. Trade schools or vocational schools are solid options, and actually, depending on the trade you choose, you may end up making more money than you would if you went to a 4-year college. Case in point, the average salary for a civil engineering technician is $65,000. And for an energy auditor, the people who quote evaluate energy use at homes, businesses, and more, the average salary is over $100,000. I guess the main takeaway for this video should be that the idea some people have that to be successful they have to go to Harvard, but that it doesn't matter what they study once they get there, that's a lie. For several reasons, but I would love to know what you guys think about this. If you're a student, do you plan on going to college? Why or why not? And if you did go to college, do you regret your degree? Let me know, but that's it for now. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.